What happens if the man who just made 80,000 people scream hysterically, who just danced non-stop for 2 full hours under the brightest lights in the world, chooses to disappear not to a lavish party, not to the limousine that is already waiting, but walks to the darkest corner at the back of the stage? What is he looking for there, in a place that even the most expensive camera in the world never points at? That night in Los Angeles, a cleaning staff member found something that made him burst into tears, and it wasn't about money, it was about one sentence spoken by Bruno Mars. If you think you already know Bruno Mars from his songs, from his smile, from his flawless stage moves, then you are completely wrong. Because for years, there has been a secret habit that he does every single night, without ever failing, after the concert is over and all the audience has gone home. A habit he never posted on Instagram, never told in an interview, but is known by every crew member, every lighting technician, every person who has ever worked behind his scenes. And today, for the first time, we are going to uncover that secret. Stay with me until the end of this video, because in the final minutes of this part 1 I will show you a direct testimony from a crew member who has worked with him for 12 years, who said this sentence changed his life forever. And I promise, after hearing this, your perspective on this global superstar will never be the same again. The stadium lights slowly dim. The screaming that was deafening just moments ago now turns into a faint hum from a distance. The sound of thousands of footsteps rushing out. The sound of staff cleaning up the leftover confetti. On that magnificent stage, a few minutes ago, Bruno Mars was a god. He was the center of the universe. Every spotlight followed him. Every camera hunted him. The world seemed to stop just to watch him sing. But now, that stage is empty. Only traces of sweat remain, a few plastic water bottles lying around, and cables stretched across like the veins of a giant that has just fallen asleep. And this is where the unseen moment begins. Most world-class artists, after a show that big, would be immediately escorted by dozens of bodyguards to a luxurious private dressing room, or get straight into a car and go to a 5-star hotel to rest. They are tired, of course. They have given their all. No one would blame them if they wanted to be alone. But Bruno Mars does not. The crews who have worked with him tell the story. They have memorized his ritual. Right after he steps off the stage, after his breath is still panting and his shirt is still soaked with sweat, he will not look for a towel first. He will not look for his drink first. The first thing he does is look to the left and right of the stage, searching for faces that are never seen by the audience. He looks for John, the 62-year-old guitar technician, who always makes sure his guitar sounds perfect. He looks for Maria, the backstage makeup artist who for 3 hours stood in a narrow hallway just to make sure his makeup didn't smudge under the hot lights. He looks for the young kids whose job is to roll up cables, whose hands are calloused and black from stage dust. He approaches them one by one. Not with a wave from afar like a boss to his employees. No. He approaches them, looks them in the eye, touches their shoulders, and says 2 words that to them sound louder than the roar of 80,000 fans. Thank you. It sounds simple, doesn't it? 2 words we say every day. But imagine you are a stage crew. You have worked for 18 hours straight. You arrived earliest when the sun hadn't even risen. You lifted speakers weighing hundreds of kilos. You climbed rigging 30 meters high just to install one spotlight. You are never called by name. Your face is never on the screen. You are a ghost in that splendor. You are the invisible person. And then, the biggest star on the planet, the man who was just worshipped like a god, walks up to you, remembers your name, and says that without you, tonight would have never happened. How would you feel? This is what makes many veteran crews in the Hollywood music industry call Bruno Mars one of the few, perhaps the only artist, who most appreciates the team behind the scenes. A lighting designer who once worked for the 24K Magic Tour told his story in a closed professional crew forum. He wrote with full emotion. He said, "I have worked for the biggest tours in the world for 25 years. I have seen everything. I have seen artists throw bottles because the light was the wrong color for 1 second. I have seen artists who never even looked at our faces for 6 months of touring. But Bruno Mars is different. On the last night of the tour in Las Vegas, after everyone was hugging and crying because the long tour was finally over, he still took the time to come to my small, dark, and stuffy control room on the top floor of the arena. He opened the door, smiled with his tired face, and said, "Hey man, tonight's show was so beautiful because of you. The light you made must have made your mother in the audience so proud of you." I don't know how he knew my mother was in the audience that night. I never told anyone. I cried for an hour after he left. Stories like this are not just one or two. If you dig deeper, you will find hundreds of similar stories. There is a young female catering officer who tells that Bruno Mars always remembers that she is allergic to peanuts and always asks if there is safe food for her. There is an old stadium security guard who tells that Bruno Mars once stopped for a moment after a concert to tie his loose shoelace. Small things. Things that will never make the main headlines. Things that will never get millions of likes. But it is these small things that build a great and sincere empire. Why does he do this? What makes a global superstar who has everything still bow his head to appreciate others? To understand this, we have to go back in time, long before there was a glittering named Bruno Mars on the billboard. We have to go back to a little boy named Peter Jean Hernandez in Hawaii. A little boy who grew up not on a luxurious stage, but behind the stage. His father was a percussionist, his mother was a hula dancer. Since the age of 4, he has seen with his own eyes how hard the people behind the scenes work. He saw his father carrying drums himself, with an old creaking truck. He saw his mother sewing dance costumes, until her fingers bled in the middle of the night, because she had no money to buy new ones. He saw his uncles who were stage crews in Waikiki, coming home with sore backs and shirts full of sweat, yet never called by name by anyone. Little Peter learned early on that the glitter on stage is an illusion. The real glitter is the sweat of the invisible people. He learned that without the people who lift the curtain, there would never be a show. And that lesson, a lesson he got not from an expensive music school, but from the hard life in the back alleys of Waikiki, is what he carried to the top of the world. When he became Bruno Mars, he did not forget little Peter. He did not forget the tired yet proud faces of his own family. So when he sees a stage crew, he does not see a worker. He sees his father. He sees his mother. He sees his family. That is why the moment after the concert is over is not the end for him. For other artists, the curtain closing is a sign to rest. For Bruno Mars, the curtain closing is the beginning of the most important show, the show where he has to be an ordinary human being who is grateful to other ordinary human beings. There is an amateur video that leaked a few years ago, taken secretly by an intern crew member. The quality was poor, dark, and shaky. In that video, Bruno Mars, who had taken off his glittering jacket, wearing only a white t-shirt soaked with sweat, was seen helping 2 crew members push a box of equipment whose wheels were stuck. There was no professional camera there. There was no manager telling him to. He just did it. Because for him, it was the right thing to do. That video was quickly deleted at the request of his team, not because he was ashamed, but because he never wanted that kindness to be seen as an act for publicity. And this is where the most heart-touching beauty lies, my loyal viewers. In a world where so many people do good only if there is a camera recording, in a world where kindness often becomes content, Bruno Mars chooses to do his kindness precisely when all the cameras have been turned off. He doesn't need applause for it. He doesn't need headlines for it. He does it because his heart is truly like that. And perhaps this is why God and the universe continue to bless him with never-fading success. Because true success is not about how loud people cheer for you in front of the stage, but about how sincerely people pray for you behind the stage, when you don't hear it.